A young and beautiful doctor, after finishing her late night shift, was on her way home at 2 a.m. In the middle of a deserted road, her car suddenly broke down. In the terrifying darkness, she thought she had been saved when she encountered a police officer. But the truth slowly unfolded. This was only the beginning of a horrifying nightmare. From a chilling chase in the dead of night to the sudden appearance of a female officer who seemed like a savior, everything only led to one hidden secret: the dark mistakes from the doctor's own past. So, my friends, you will know the full story in this video. Make sure to watch until the end. And if you are new to the channel, please hit like and subscribe to join us in exploring many more exciting videos. It was 2 a.m. when Dr. Emily, a young physician, finished her shift and began the long drive home. The city streets were empty, shadows stretching across the asphalt. Fatigue weighed on her, but she longed only for her warm bed. Halfway through the lonely stretch of highway, her car coughed, sputtered, and died. She tried restarting it again and again, but the engine refused to come back to life. Cursing her luck, Emily stepped out into the night. The road around her was utterly silent. No headlights, no houses, not even the sound of a passing truck. She shivered. The darkness felt heavy, almost alive, pressing down on her. For a while, she stood motionless, hoping someone might come by. But the minutes dragged on, and no one appeared. With a deep breath, she locked her broken car and began to walk. The sound of her footsteps echoed against the pavement. Every rustle of the wind made her heart pound faster. Just as despair was creeping in, a bright light pierced the darkness. Headlights. A vehicle was approaching. Relief washed over her, and she hurried into the middle of the road, waving frantically. The car slowed and stopped only a few feet away. It was a police jeep. Emily exhaled with relief. At least now she would be safe. But when the door swung open, her relief dissolved. A policeman named John stepped out. He was tall, heavy-set, with a dark, menacing look. His boots crunched on the gravel as he approached slowly, eyes locked on her. Something about him made Emily's skin crawl. She took a small step back, then another. John's stare never wavered. His silence was more frightening than words. Suddenly, Emily turned and ran. Her shoes slapped against the pavement, echoing in the night as she sprinted down the deserted road. Behind her, John's voice boomed, "Stop!" But she didn't dare look back. She spotted her broken-down car up ahead, the only place to hide. She flung the door open, scrambled inside, and slammed the lockdown. Her chest heaved with ragged breaths as she crouched low. Then came the pounding. Fists hammered against the windows, each strike making her flinch. She kept her eyes shut, trembling, praying he would go away. The pounding stopped. For a moment, there was silence. Slowly, she lifted her head. John's face was pressed against the glass, eyes wide, glaring straight into hers. Emily screamed. Emily's scream echoed in the darkness, but no one was there to hear it. John's fist slammed once more on the window. Then his voice roared, "Open the door now." Shaking, Emily hesitated. If she stayed inside, he might break the glass. If she went out, she had no idea what he would do. Trapped between terror and desperation, her trembling fingers unlocked the door. John yanked it open, his shadow towering over her. "Who are you?" he demanded harshly. "What are you doing out here at this hour?" I'm a doctor," Emily stammered, her voice barely audible. "My car broke down. I was just walking home." John narrowed his eyes, studying her from head to toe. Then he said flatly, "This road is dangerous. Thieves, animals, you wouldn't last an hour. Get in my Jeep. I'll take you home." Every instinct inside Emily screamed no. But alone, exhausted, and terrified, she saw no other choice. With shaky steps, she followed him to the Jeep and climbed inside. The engine roared to life, and the Jeep surged forward into the night. Emily clasped her hands tightly, staring out the window, trying to calm her racing heart. The silence was unbearable. Then she realized something chilling. John had never asked her address. Her pulse quickened. "Aren't you going to ask where I live?" she said carefully. John smirked. "Don't worry, I know a shortcut." Before she could respond, he turned the wheel sharply. The Jeep left the main road, bouncing onto a narrow dirt path. Trees loomed on both sides, swallowing the moonlight. Emily's throat tightened. This isn't the way to my house." John said nothing. His eyes stayed fixed ahead. The Jeep rattled and jolted until it came to a stop in front of an abandoned house. Its windows were shattered, its walls cracked, and the air around it felt thick with dread. Emily's fear peaked. She fumbled for the door handle, trying to escape, but John's hand shot out, gripping her arm with crushing force. "You're not going anywhere," he growled. Emily fought back, shoving him with all her strength. He stumbled, giving her just enough time to fling the door open and leap out. Her feet hit the dirt, and she ran blindly into the night, but heavy footsteps thundered behind her. John was chasing again. The cold wind stung her face as she pushed forward, lungs burning. Just when her strength was about to give out, bright lights flared ahead. Another vehicle, a police car. It screeched to a halt, and the door opened. A female officer named Sarah stepped out, her face calm and reassuring. "You're safe now," Sarah said, her voice soft. "Don't worry, I'll protect you." Emily's knees nearly buckled with relief. She thought the nightmare was finally over, but she had no idea. Her nightmare was only beginning. Emily clung to Officer Sarah as though she had just been rescued from the edge of death. Her voice trembled as she poured out everything that had happened. The chase, the pounding on her car door, the terrifying face in the window. Sarah nodded gently. "You're safe now. He won't hurt you again. Come, get in my car. I'll take you home." Emily's heart swelled with relief. Finally, someone she could trust. She slid into the back seat, whispering, "Thank you, thank you." The police car rolled down the dirt path, leaving the abandoned Jeep behind. Emily stared out the window, her breathing slowing. She didn't even notice Sarah glancing at her in the mirror, a faint smile tugging at her lips. A few minutes later, Sarah suddenly braked hard. "Wait," she said, pointing ahead. "There he is." Emily's blood ran cold. Standing in the middle of the road was John, the same officer who had chased her. He grinned as the headlights hit his face. "Don't be afraid," Sarah reassured. "Stay in the car. I'll deal with him." She stepped out, striding toward John. Emily pressed her hands to the window, whispering, "No, no, please don't." The two officers met in the beam of light. To Emily's horror, John chuckled and muttered, "So, the fish took the bait?" Sarah smirked. "Yes, sir." "She's completely trapped." Emily's stomach dropped. Betrayal. The only person she had trusted had been part of the nightmare all along. Her heart pounded as she reached for the door handle, but before she could run, Sarah returned and ordered, "Get out! There's something you need to see." Confused, terrified, yet powerless, Emily obeyed. They led her back toward the decrepit house. The door creaked open, and inside, in the dim light, a frail old woman lay on a bed. Emily froze. She recognized her instantly. Mrs. Thompson, a former patient, someone Emily had once treated at her clinic, or rather, mistreated. She had prescribed the wrong drugs, forged reports, and pocketed extra money, leaving the poor woman bedridden. Emily had long buried that memory. John's voice thundered, shaking the walls. "Do you see her? My mother, the woman you left suffering for your greed. Tonight, I brought you here so you would feel the same fear you inflicted on others. So you would know how curses return to the guilty." Emily's legs weakened. She tried to speak, but only sobs came out. Mrs. Thompson lifted her fragile hand. In a faint voice, she whispered, "Son, let her go. Perhaps tonight she has learned. Perhaps she will change." John glared at Emily, his chest heaving. Finally, he stepped back. "Go. But remember this. If you ever harm another patient, your end will be far worse." Emily collapsed to her knees, weeping, promising, "I will never deceive again. I swear it." Emily knelt on the cold, cracked floor, her tears soaking the dust. Her mind reeled with shame, regret, and disbelief. She had thought she was the victim of a cruel nightmare, but now she understood. It was a mirror, a reflection of the pain she had once caused. John stood above her, his expression grim. "Tonight," he said, "was not about punishment. It was about awakening. You made money from the suffering of the poor. You played with lives as though they were nothing. Now you know what it feels like to tremble for your own." Sarah, silent until now, gave Emily a long, searching look. Her smirk had vanished, replaced by a stern seriousness. "We could have destroyed you," she said coldly. "But sometimes fear is the only medicine strong enough to cure corruption." The words cut deeper than any wound. Emily felt exposed, stripped of all the pride and arrogance she had carried in her career. She bowed her head and whispered, "I was wrong. I see it now. Please, let me change." From the bed, Mrs. Thompson's frail voice rose again. "Go, child. Make good of your knowledge. Heal, don't harm. If you truly regret, then prove it with your actions." The tension in the room broke. John finally stepped aside, pointing to the door. "Leave. But remember this night. If you ever betray your oath again, you will find yourself back here, not for a warning, but for judgment. Emily stumbled to her feet, her body trembling. She walked out into the night air, her breaths ragged but filled with a strange new clarity. The abandoned house loomed behind her like a shadow of her own conscience. When the first rays of dawn stretched across the horizon, Emily was still walking, away from fear, away from lies, and toward redemption. From that day forward, Emily was never the same. At her clinic, she treated every patient with patience and honesty. No matter how poor, no matter how desperate, she never again turned suffering into profit. Her reputation slowly changed, but more importantly, her heart did. She never forgot John's voice, Sarah's cold stare, or Mrs. Thompson's fragile plea. The memory of that night haunted her, not as a curse, but as a constant reminder that integrity is more valuable than wealth, and compassion is stronger than fear. Final moral. This story teaches us that injustice, deceit, and greed always return to those who commit them. Sooner or later, the suffering we cause becomes the suffering we face. But it also teaches that repentance is possible. Honesty and kindness are life's greatest treasures, while exploiting the vulnerable is the gravest sin. Thank you, everyone. I just want to take a moment to sincerely thank all of you for watching, supporting, and sharing your time with me. Your encouragement means the world and gives me the motivation to keep creating and sharing more stories with you.